conservative. I'm like, holy
Yep.
smokes! Like,
Yeah.
I thought Florida would have been like the STD capital of the U.S. or something. Like,
Well, it's going to depend on where you go in Florida for that one. So, like, if you go a little bit farther south, then yeah, you're going to find all the retirement villages with the old rich people who are just spreading STDs like Pokemon back in the 90s.
yeah,
That's
dude.
great. If you go to the
Yeah.
very, like, southern tip, when you're in, like, Miami, then it's like, it's a completely different world. It's like, it's crazy down there. That's like the nightlife, the eccentric crap, the anacondas that live in sewers are down there. When you're
Yeah,
like
dude.
closer to me, that you get a lot of the conservatism because it's basically bleeding from South Georgia, and you've got a lot nowadays. Like the past couple of years, it's probably been the past like 10 years. Texas and Californians and New Yorkers who disagreed with what was happening started coming to Florida. So very heavily conservative people like flocked in droves. So it was already pretty conservative here in general, but like, dude, over the past couple of years, especially with all the Trump stuff, it's like it's hard not to find like pro MAGA people everywhere. It's crazy. It
Oh, that's
really is
right.
crazy.
I remember now. You're in Jayville, aren't you?
Yep. Yep.
See, because my grandparents lived in Kissimmee.
Oh yeah, that's different from here for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Kissimmee's
Florida.
much
There's
more, yeah.
Yeah, Florida's just kind of like sectioned off. You've got like the Panhandle, you've got where I'm at, and then you've got a little spot in the middle, kind of to the west, and then you've got all the way down there in Miami. And each one's different, but it is crazy, dude. Like, it's very conservative here, like super, super conservative. I don't know how conservative it is where you're at comparatively. I don't know much about Virginia.
So, I used to make a crass joke that we're purple because even the gays are capitalist. But like, yeah, we're pretty purple. Like we have, it's actually kind of crazy. Virginia is very purple. Like we are, in fact, but there's a phrase about this too, that the U.S. is a minotaur with like a red upper half and the like blue horse body or something.
Yeah, beautiful.
And yeah, because it's weird. Because we just don't like extremities a lot of the times. Like a lot of people here are very centrist. But it's weird because we get a lot of the Gen Xers that are like, no one wants to work anymore, and I'm like, dude, the job market here sucks. Like, no one's hiring. No one wants to hire anymore.
Yeah.
Like, real talk, like, I don't know where it is, where you're at, but up here, like, a lot of people make this case of, like, oh, because of globalism, like, you know, the job market has never been more competitive. I'm like, no. You're not competing with, like, you know, like, foreign people. You're competing with the employer's peace to not want to hire anybody ever.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if it's like that down there, but up here, like, no one ever gets a job, and it's, like, full of, like, scams. Like, so many times there are people who are, like, there was, because I'm a part of a couple of Facebook groups that are local Facebook groups that, you know, try to help people get employed in Fredericksburg. But what's whack is, like, sometimes they're scams, and most of the time they're scams. And it's weird, because people don't know that they're scams. But the job title will be like, work from home Aldi's. And I'm like, okay, Aldi's does not do work from home jobs. What planet are you living on?
No. No.
Oh, God.
So, I haven't run into scams like that. That's hilarious, by the way. But so I'm trying to move to Asheville, and though the job market there is pretty similar, not scammy, but it's like the posts are out there, but nobody's getting hired. Like, nobody's getting hired, and God forbid you check in on like a job posting and then you contact them and they're like, oh, that's been closed for 3 months, bro. That's like, wait, why is it still up? pain in the arse. That's what I got to say. It's genuinely bad. I don't know, it's so hard. I try really hard not to like look at news or anything because it just feels so like what is the point? You know what I mean? It's so like demotivating to be like the price of eggs are going up because of bird flu. All these tariffs, nobody can afford housing, and it's like, oh Jesus.
I mean,
Should I go off myself?
So, I mean, it makes me like a little excited about like self-sufficiency.
I can see that.
But that's it. Like,
That's the only upside.
because then I just go, oh yeah. Because here's the thing. When the going is bad, that is usually the time when like a lot of new stuff gets created. Because
Yes.
when the pre-established falls apart, that's when everyone else can be like, oh shit, so look, like all the aspirations we thought were like legitimate are really stupid, and we have to just like kind of remake a lot of this stuff from the ground up. And then you get into like a lot of stuff. Well, like for instance, like the COVID bread. You remember COVID bread? People were like always making bread during COVID. And
Yes.
well, I actually did that legitimately. Like I've made bread now like 10 times.
Let's go, dude.
More than that, probably like 15 times.
Yeah.
Because I do 2 breads a batch. Like I'll make 2 different dough starters with the yeast, and I've gotten to making my own wine. So
Hey, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Talk about that. I want to hear about this.
Yeah, so exactly. So this is what I mean. Like when stuff falls apart, it's like great to get into self-sufficiency because I've been making my own wine, bread, gardening food. I've been getting into upcycling, and I've been getting into coding. And recently, I got into machine code. But that's another story. But
Nice.
so for the wine. So basically, I've been getting into sugar washes. Sugar washes are basically when you add a gallon of water to like what's called a glass gallon. In the trade, they call it a carboy. But you basically get a glass gallon. You fill it up, a gallon of water. You put in, I think you do 3 teaspoons of yeast, and you do 3 cups of sugar. So it's 3 cups of sugar, 3 teaspoons yeast, and a gallon of water. And you let that ferment in a 1-gallon glass bottle, and you let it ferment for about 2 to 3 weeks. And then you do what's called cold crashing, where you put it in like a fridge. And what that's going to do is it's going to let the yeast fall to the bottom, and all the sediments are going to fall to the bottom. What's going to happen then is you can do after a few days. Sometimes it's really just like 2 days for a full 24 hours. What you do is then you decant it. You can decant that. Sorry. Pause. During the cold crash, what I also do is I flavor it with an extract. So I'll get like vanilla extract or even the flavored extracts like coconut extract, orange, lemon extract. And you flavor that specifically when it is in the cold crash stage, not in the fermentation stage. So you take it out of the cold crash after 2 days, after it's gotten the extract in it, and then you go ahead and you decant it, which is pour it slowly into like a cup, and then you let that cup sit out for maybe like a few minutes to just aerate, and then you go ahead and you drink it.
Let's freaking go, man.
So, along the way, also important facts I left out as well. In the fermentation stage, you're supposed to have a balloon with holes poked in it, strapped over the.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
What does that do? What is that supposed to do? Does that like keep toxins out, or does it like what does that do?
It's an in and out thing. So what it does is, if you don't have the holes poked in, what happens is the yeast, because the yeast puts out CO2 and alcohol, and if it gets stressed, it puts out sulfur, which is also fine to drink, but it just smells, as you know, like farts, because sulfur is
a little stinky.
Yeah,
it's a little stinky.
But it mainly the fermentation is mainly supposed to just do the alcohol and CO2, which, as you know, is carbon dioxide that makes things effervescent, bubbling. What happens is if you don't have holes in the balloon, what's going to happen is the balloon's going to blow up because all of the CO2 is going to build in the balloon, and it's going to make the balloon expand and explode.
Mm.
So you poke holes in the balloon just to have it